Wow, full house.
Meeting, I'd like to call to order the Chippewa High Schools Board of Education meeting for March 21st, 2022. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I'm going to start the meeting. Saturday, 6:33. For housekeeping this evening, Mr. Sobel, Ms. Aquino, and Ms. Pye are excused for this evening. And Bartovic has agreed to kindly agreed to take over secretarial duties for the evening, so we thank him for that. Moving on to item B, additions, deletions, we have none this evening. Item C, recognition and presentations. Mr. Roberts.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Bednar. So this evening, we're going to recognize student athletes, a group of athletes from Chippewa Valley High School and another group of athletes from Dakota High School. But before I start with that, and I'm going to do this first because I'll forget if I get into this. I want to recognize the coaches, the athletes that are here. I also want to recognize our athletic directors, and that's where I'll start. So we have Dr. Adam Schill in the back right there. Adam, if you can come right there, Adam. Adam Downs here. I recognize them first because, as you can see, they're here tonight. They have a very big job, a very important job. Athletics are important to many of our students, and it's very important to our athletic directors that they run good quality athletic programs in our school. And part of a good quality program is being there. In a sense, it's like being a small business owner. If you want to be as successful as a small business owner, you're going to be there. Our athletic directors, I'm always floored with the hours they keep, that they work, and I just want to take that moment to recognize them. So thank you to our two Adams for all that they do. So we're going to start tonight with the, we have from Chippewa Valley High School, we have some wrestlers. And they, the odds, and they're kind of trailblazers in the sport of wrestling. And I think for our guests in here in the audience who haven't met our wrestlers, we'll learn about that in a minute. I'd like to bring up the wrestling coach, Mr. Nick Bowers from Chippewa Valley High School, and he's going to talk about the wrestlers that are here this evening and talk about their season. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Bowers.
I'd like to thank you first for the opportunity to recognize these young women and what they've accomplished this year. For the first time ever, MHSA has recognized the growth in our state in the girls wrestling division. With that being said, these girls still had a long road ahead of them. Julia Snyder was our 105 pounder. Started wrestling as a freshman last year, only wrestled 2 matches all season. She had big shoes to fill following her brother's footsteps, Kenny Snyder, who was also a state qualifier at Chippewa Valley High School. Julia did a fantastic job of carving out her own path and her family's legacy. She placed third at the regional to qualify for the state tournament. She lost her first match. She won her second one, and then lost her third match in a very tough battle. That ended her run for the season, but has already started a fire in her for next year in the future. Julia is also named the first ever Macomb County girls all-county team this year as well. Next, we have Elena Gassner. She's our 110 pounder. Elena came to us from as an exchange student from Austria. We heard stories of her as school year was starting. She had wrestled before in Austria as actually a junior world champion from Austria. So she came with some experience. Their style is freestyle. Ours is folk style. It's a little different. It took a little bit of adjustment for her, but she learned it very quickly. She was finished with 25 wins this season, most of those coming against boys. That put her, also put her second on our team for wins this year. She won her regional, which qualified her for the state tournament as well, and she went on to take third in the state tournament. Elna also was named to the first ever Macomb County All-Girls team, and also is academic All-State. Next, I have Casey Money, a 125 pounder. Casey's a story all of her own. She started as a little girl before girl wrestling was cool. Some consider her to be the true trailblazer for the sport. She's definitely been a trailblazer at Chippewa Valley for girls wrestling. She also has a brother, Carson Money, that wrestled. Casey is a multi-sport athlete, track, cross country, as well as wrestling. Was named team captain this season. And that may sound strange to be made captain of an all-male team or male-dominant team, but that was picked by her peers. And to no surprise, Casey took the reins and had control of the team the whole year. She's well respected in the team and in the school. Casey suffered a knee injury halfway through the season, and anyone who knows Casey knows that did not defeat her, just made her motivated and stronger to come back. And that she did. She finished second at regional, qualified for the state tournament, and at the state tournament, she wrestled every match. It was a very, very tough match, and she finished fourth. Casey also was named to the All-County girls team as well as academic All-State.
Do you think that you could just before you sit down, could you just like talk a little bit about the kind of the evolution of wrestling as a sport in the state of Michigan, and so maybe teach us a little bit how this all came about?
It's kind of funny. When I first started this year, I told the girls that when I was in high school, I graduated in '96 from Cosmo. We had 2 girls on our team, and that was unheard of at that time. So in 26 years, it's finally the MHSA has recognized these young women, that the sport has grown that much in a male-dominant sport, that it has grown that much that it deserves its own division, its own recognition, and its own stage at Ford Field with the rest of the guys for the MHSA. All 4 divisions and the girls division wrestled at Ford Field. So they had 25 mats. They all got their to put on their show and display. It was really cool. And it's come a long way, and this is way overdue. But this is the first of many to come for the girls in wrestling.
Thank you. So I have certificates for our student athletes this evening, and requisite gift card to Dairy Queen. So that you don't need to worry about weight. Well, get the whatever it is you like, not feel guilty about eating it. So I'd first like to call up for a certificate and also a gift card for you too. Nick Bowers, our coach. So. And then I would like to bring up Julia Snyder. So excited to give you the gift card. Excited out there. All right, and then Casey Bonnie. Casey. Congratulations. And Elena Gassmer. So what I would like is, though, and I'm gonna, three, come on over here. Come back. Put you right here. Because I'll try to slide here. Do an interview here. So Elena, you're from Austria, right? Austria? You ski?
Yeah.
You ski? Okay, good. Would you just talk about wrestling in Austria and how you got interested in it?
I just got interested in doing wrestling because my older siblings did it, and yeah, that's how I got into it. But there are not many girls wrestling in Austria, and that's also why I kind of went international, so I would have more matches against girls. And it was also I had never wrestled twice before in tournaments, so there was also a new experience here.
So when you're wrestling, a boy or a girl from America, do you freak them out by speaking in their home language? Yes. Do you say things that they won't understand? You're saying to them in a foreign language.
No, I actually didn't try it.
That's good. Well, it's wonderful. In fact, right now, what I understand from Dr. Schill is that any foreign exchange student coming here has to play a sport now because of you. And Julia, I want you, if you can remember, for our audience, if you can remember, once we get us back, remember what you said to, and I can't remember her name because I know she's new, the sports reporter from Channel 7 who interviewed her, you, and she said to you, what has wrestling done for you? Can you talk a little, you remember what you said?
Yeah, wrestling has changed my confidence most of all. Before wrestling, I wasn't as confident in anything, honestly. And wrestling is the hardest thing I've ever done, so everything else kind of comes more easy after I've fell all the way and I've done everything I had to do in wrestling. Outside life, it's just not as bad.
It's better.
Yeah.
It's better. So what would you say to a female athlete who was thinking of doing this?
Honestly, it is an amazing sport for all the opportunities that you can get from it. I played soccer, varsity soccer my freshman year. I played it growing up my entire life, and I just quit this year because I knew that wrestling has more opportunities for me. I get to go to Sweden because of wrestling, and I met Elena, an Austrian foreign exchange student, that I became my training partner. I've never had this many opportunities. I never even thought that I could travel the world or wrestle amongst guys and make history if it wasn't for wrestling.
And what's the connection between wrestling and Sweden?
Um,
Did you see a travel brochure before? You could go to somewhere not so good if you did soccer. You could go to Sweden if you did wrestling. How do you go out to wrestling?
I'm in a club after school. It's not a part of Chippewa, but it's called Roughnecks, and they are taking a team together. We're all traveling to Sweden to wrestle with the national team. And Coach Jeff Fire, a coach at Chippewa, is the one that's running it
So when do you go to Sweden?
this summer.
Very good. I know that you've been wrestling a long time. Just talk about what it's done for you.
Oh my goodness, I definitely have to add on to what Julie said about building confidence. My older brother wrestled, so he was always a role model for me. So when I grew up, I wanted to be exactly like him. I wanted to be as tough as him. I wanted to be on the varsity team. I wanted to be with all the guys. I wanted to beat them all up, obviously. But it built a confidence. And like Julie said, not only in the wrestling room with your teammates, but outside of the room. When I have to speak in class and I have to give a presentation and talk to a teacher or a friend, you have that confidence from getting out on that mat and showing everyone what you can do.
Congratulations. Do they have them in Austria? Ski fuel? I did, but it was many years ago. Many. Oh my gosh, thank you, Diane, I would. I just forget all the formalities we have. So, Coach Bowers and Dr. Schultz, come on up. We have a small group of board members here tonight. This is a little easier, right? A board member would like to be in a photo right now. There's not. It's easier tonight, but we'll be back around, so. That's a couple of it. So when I was in college, I did not wrestle for obvious reasons. But I had friends who wrestled, and I had so much respect for them because it's a tough sport, and sometimes it's not glamorous, and it's incredible work. So I just want to recognize you three and your coaches for taking on such a arduous activity, finding love in it and excelling at it. So congratulations to the three of you. So. Our other group that we have here this evening is the state championship bowling team, girls bowling team from Dakota High School. And we have Coach Paul Price, and he will talk about his team and his season. So Paul, if you'd like to go to the microphone in the center there.
Bear with me, this is my first board meeting. First of all, I'd like to congratulate the three young ladies from Chippewa Valley, Coach Bowers, on a great season. That's awesome. It's very inspiring to see what you guys are doing for the sport there, first of all. Second, I wanted to thank the school board for having us here tonight. This is a great honor. We're happy to be here, and it's been great. I also want to thank the staff, the entire Chippewa Valley schools for all the support that we've received from them. Our staff at our school, Mr. Koskas and his entire staff, greatest, well, one of the greatest athletic directors as far as I'm concerned. Mr. Demers has given our group so much support, and we're upside down happy to have a man like him take care of us in every way we need, and he makes our success possible. So thank you, Mr. Demers. Also Dawn Toko as well. We can't forget about her. She helps drive that engine as well too. I also want to thank our parents. We have some of the greatest parents in the world. They did a great job this year of helping me be able to coach, not have to deal with a lot of other problems. And that's a huge thing when you have so many moving parts, so many things going on. Our parents just did an amazing job. Have to thank my wife and daughter as well too. They're the reason why I can do this stuff, and they both help support this team. And I just wanted to make sure that they get their fair due. My wife makes everything happen. Pardon me, excuse me. Thank you to the girls. All of you trusting the process, all of you buying in, all of you working so hard to do what you did to make our team what it was this year. I can't be more proud of each and every one of you. You all had your own part in this, and I feel like without each and every one of your contribution, no matter how big it may feel to you, how small it may feel, or in between, to the team it meant everything. And you guys all were a big, huge part of this this year, and it was a great thing. Going into the season, we actually were the underdogs. We had graduated 2 scholarship bowlers that were really, really strong, and this team wasn't expected to have the success that we had. What they did that was different from other groups was they all took it upon themselves to get a little bit better, a lot of it better, I guess I should say. And we went from a team that probably was expected to be mediocre, maybe average, above average, to a team that really dominated the toughest conference in the state. And then we won 5 tournaments overall, including the state championship. And we came in 3rd place in 3 tournaments, 2nd place in 1, and we had 1 top 8 finish out of everything that we did. We were undefeated in the MAC Red, which again is the toughest conference. Unfortunately, like wrestling, we don't have it together to where we know who our all county and all conference players are yet, unfortunately. I'm sorry, all state and all county is not named yet. Our all conference players, our MAC Red conference, we do have 3 of them. Jillian Lipinski, Alyssa Ritchie, and Riley. All state has been named, but it's not official yet. They're going through the finishing, and all conference for whatever reason still hasn't been named yet. So I can't really go into what the girls did there, but I'd like to at least introduce the girls, if that's okay. Is that all right? We're gonna start with. So we had 2 young ladies that both bowled on JV to start the year off on the junior varsity team. And one of them, as the year progressed, she got better and better, and we started bringing her up for tournaments and meets. And what I can say is every time we needed her, she came through 100% of the time. And what that does to a team is amazing, because it makes the other girls understand that we have depth, that we have firepower, that they don't have to be perfect all the time. And in bowling, it's a game where if you're relaxed, you're better. So having that extra piece really made this team an amazing team. And that would be this young lady right here. Her name is Tess Stady. We brought her up midway through the year. Do you want to come up here? We also, at the end of the year, we pulled up another young lady to come bowl with us at regionals and states, and get the experience being around the girls, being around that atmosphere, understanding the pressures that big stage creates. And she handled it great. It's so kind, it's so sweet. Her spirit was there. She kept the team up, and her game is getting better and better. And I am extremely excited to see what both these 2 young ladies are going to do next year. Samantha Schnurr. I didn't go too into the personal accolades, which all of these girls have really awesome resumes. I could be here all night if you guys wanted me to, but I wanted to talk more about the team tonight, because that's what we're here for, is the team state championship. And this team of ladies, like I said earlier, they did everything they could to improve, to get themselves to a level to where we could perform at the highest level in the biggest moment. And I gotta make mention to Alexa Hardister, had by far her best day for the team during the state championships. I mean, she came through at the biggest time, and I gotta give her credit for that. Yeah, we got a little spark plug. Her name is Haley Patterson. She is our youngest. She's a sophomore. She bowled on junior varsity last year, and she worked her tail off all summer to get herself ready for this year. She got exponentially better as the year went on. She was the definition of true growth. You could see it right before your eyes. She bowled her biggest and best game in the state finals in the championship match against a really good team. She shot 226 and helped carry us to the state championship. Haley Patterson. Our little bulldog, our little pit bull. She's a tough one. Her name is Riley Brownrigg. Riley is basically kind of the same progress I just talked about with Haley, but she's a year ahead of her. She came to us, I don't think she ever threw a ball before. And the kid probably averaged 190 this year, if not better, and just literally carried us in so many moments, so many tournaments, put us in a spot where again, just like I was saying with Tess, you know, she put us in a spot where the other girls could relax because they knew that we had her as well, you know, and that's something that every one of you contributed to, and Riley was no exception to that. So Riley Broderick. And my two seniors, who have done a wonderful job of, through indirect and direct leadership, taught this team how to gel, how to be a family, how to pick each other up, how to do the things that we need when we're down, how to fight through adversity. You two girls carried I carried the team as an understatement. Jillian probably had the best season I could ever ask for. I mean, she threw the ball amazing all year long. If they fell down like they should have, it would have been even better, but that's a tribute to her. She was amazing. Alyssa has the highest aim in the state. She shot a 299 game this year. 99 and a half because the pin went down, this, down like that, but it just didn't stop. But all season long, both of you two found different ways to contribute to this team, both on and off the lanes, keeping the girls together, having fun with each other, being a family. And that's why we won the state championship. So just want to say congratulations to you two.
I think they want ice cream. Yeah. Oh, I thought that was just your first act. I think we're going to take a little break and come back.
Also, I just wanted to say thank you for coming and showing us your bowling skills as well, too, Mr. Rowan.
Yeah, you know what? Let's do it this way. Let's have the girls go back and be seated.
Okay.
And then we have a video because I got everything out of order. And then we'll do the video and then I'll give the certificates after that. That'll work. And then is it Jillian? Is it Jillian? Just maybe you could show the crowd here what you get for the state championship trophy. Okay, so anyways, I last week went up to Imperial Lanes to interview this team, and I thought I know it's the end of the year, but some of them are coming back and some want to bowl in college, and I know they always want to improve. So I thought I'll go up and give them some of my tips. So we're working on a video for the cable station, and I think we're going to have that for you.
Hello everyone, I'm Robert, Superintendent of Chippewa Valley Schools. I'm excited today. I'm on Garfield Road, almost to the big boy, and we're at Imperial Lane. Just this year, the Dakota High School girls bowling team won the state championship. So we're gonna go inside, we're gonna be meeting some of our bowlers and maybe doing a little bit of bowling. Oh no, it's going off. Yeah! Woo! Whoa. Okay, I'm here with Paul Price, and Paul is the bowling coach for both the boys and the girls teams, because I just learned this sport, they participate simultaneously. But Paul, congratulations on winning a state championship.
Thank you.
And what was that like to win a state championship?
I would say it's something that we have had as a goal for a long time on this team, something that we have always hoped for and come close a lot. And I think that finally actually getting there, we were a finalist in 2018. We had a really great team back then. And actually finally getting over the hump is relieving. Once you make it through regionals, there's no gimmies at that point. everybody's there for a reason, and that's because they're really good. And you gotta be at your best, and that's one thing I can say these girls was at their best that entire day. And it's hard to do. 13 hours of bowling is 13 hours in the bowling center. We probably bowled for about 11 of it. And that's a lot of being on your A game all day long.
I know winning a state championship is a wonderful thing, and that feels great. But tell me what it's like to coach this group of girls.
This particular group of girls, honestly, it's been amazing. Over the years, we've had one or two girls that can just strike like crazy. And we become reliant upon the strike over and over again. When you have a player that can put a 5-bagger together, that changes things. That's a lot of pins. And this team understood from the beginning that they didn't really have that. They didn't, and believe me, some of them showed up, and we had the capability of doing that. But this team valued the spare. And they worked hard on that, and it really made us as coaches proud. And I think that's why we had the success we had this year, because we were making spares and then putting the strikes together.
Well, very good. All right, well, I'm going to interview some of your star bowlers here,
Okay.
so the
Okay.
ones who won't mind talking to me, so all right. Good, I'm here with 4. Are there 7 on your team total? Is everyone here today?
Yes.
All right, so there's 7 on this team. I'm going to start with 4 of them here. Why don't you start by your name and what grade you're in?
I'm Jillian Lipinski, and I'm a senior. I'm Riley Brownrigg, and I'm a junior.
I'm Haley Patterson. I'm a sophomore.
I'm Alyssa Ritchie, and I'm a senior.
You're a senior too?
Yes.
So we have 2 seniors, junior. Okay, so we got some talent still around for next year, right?
Sure.
Okay, you seniors, I got to ask you before you even start. When you go to college, do you want to go bowl in college?
100%, yeah.
100, you do. And is there scholarship money? Do they give you scholarship money?
Yes.
So like, what are you thinking of doing next year?
I'm not 100% sure. I keep bouncing back and forth between different ideas and majors.
But you're thinking of going somewhere to bowl.
Yes.
You're in a competition with another team, and you're done. And you win? Is that like you got 1 win?
Oh, we went undefeated for the.
Oh my gosh,
season.
I didn't realize this. This is not only a state champion team, this is an undefeated state champion. That is like really remarkable. Can you think of a moment during the season that something was really exciting?
Counties for sure. We ended up becoming champions of the entire county. It was just an exciting experience. We ended up winning our match against Anchor Bay, our last match for that
Are they a
tournament.
good bowling team too?
Yes, definitely.
When you're doing a match, can you kind of like tell when you have it in your back pocket? Or is there just like you go to the end and you don't know?
I say it all counts on your first match for me, basically, because if I am not good at the start, I'm probably not good the rest of the day. I need
Oh,
to,
mean if you
I
start
need to
bad, you're
be-
bad the whole time?
For
Is that
me,
what you just
for
said?
me, for me at least.
So if you
I
start
feel
bad,
like for me.
should they just like pull you out of the competition right away and say, get a sub in for her, she can be bad the rest of the way? Okay, so talk about how you prepare for a bowling match.
Well, I normally I get here in the morning. I put my stuff away. I put my AirPods in and I listen to music to like calm my nerves. And like I talk to everyone. Then I put my shoes on, put all my bowling balls up, put my brace on, and then we normally do 15 minutes of stretching, like 10 minutes before
Really?
practice. Yeah.
Talk about food and drink during a big bowling match, because your coach was telling me you're supposed to stay away from salty foods and things like that. Do you listen to your coach, or do you just eat what you want? Like when your coach turns his head, do you take out like a donut and eat it, or what do you do?
So the snack part of it isn't really a big deal. In fact, our team has a snack bin that we bring in case we get a little hungry during tournaments. When he says salty foods, it's more so when we go out the night before for like a team dinner, don't eat a bunch of French fries or something like that. And then for lunch, we usually get whatever we want. One day all the parents made us eat subs because they're like, you guys gotta be healthy, it's a big day.
Okay. Yeah, you need to keep
but-
your energy up in this sport, don't you?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All right, well, congratulations. Thank you. I can
you.
tell you're wonderful. Thanks for representing Dakota and Chippewa Valley schools. We really appreciate it, Sal. I'm here with the 3 other bowlers for the Dakota High School varsity team. And why don't you tell us your names and your grade?
I'm Tess Stady, and I am in 11th grade.
I'm Alexa Hardister, and I'm also in 11th grade.
I'm Samantha Schnur, and I'm in 11th grade.
So we have 3 11th graders, huh? So first of all, let's hear it. Tess, why don't you tell us when you started bowling and why you started bowling?
I started bowling when I was really young because my family bowls. Like my sister, she was on the team, and I'm proud to say that I am a state champion because my sister was also a state champion, the last girls to win.
That was the last
so.
girls team.
Yeah.
Well, how old were you when you started bowling?
I was probably 7 because my brother was in high school when I was born, so he bowled.
When you were born, your brother was a high school student. Was he a bowler?
Yes.
Or did your parents bowl?
My dad did in leagues.
Did your families know each other?
No.
No. Do you have brothers and sisters coming up more? Do we have more?
I'm the youngest.
This is like sad. What do you like about bowling?
Well, I've done multiple sports. I rode horses for 7 years, and I also played soccer, but I got into it because of my brother.
Your brother. So, are you still doing the horse thing?
No.
You went more to bowling.
Yeah.
Why'd you do that?
I switched because at the time I was playing soccer too, so it was just a lot going on.
Samantha, just talk about the state championship and what that meant to you. What was that like?
Well, it was fun being there for the first time and just watching all my friends grow as bowlers, and it was just like overall a good experience.
So what would you say to someone who was thinking about taking up bowling as a sport?
It's a fun sport.
Not like fun.
Yeah, and you don't have to work as
What makes it fun though? What makes bowling fun?
the people.
Okay. So it's fun to be around your team and your coaches and all that and bowl. Oh no, it's going off.
Okay. The Chippewa Valley girls who wrestle probably say, why didn't you make a video with us? Oh no, I don't wrestle. I'll bowl, I won't wrestle. So I have a very fragile ego. So, anyway, but I do a couple things I want to mention. First of all, as you can see, my form isn't much. I tend to just throw a flat ball down the center. I don't do anything that was showed at the end. But I found out tonight why I was so unsuccessful, because Coach Price says the better bowlers are relaxed. I was really nervous that day. I think I would have been much better if I was more relaxed. So I apologize for that. The thing that I enjoyed most was this. And I know it's true because I've heard it from the wrestlers too in other conversations, but I heard it loud and clear from the 7 girls that day bowling. Bowling is just a vehicle for other things. It's not the bowling. I know you love bowling and you love doing that. But what you all talked about was the importance of team. Bowling is a vehicle to be a part of a team. And that's what's really important. Because in life, regardless of what you choose to do, play volleyball, do anything, I mean, right now, what you do, the importance of team and developing team skills will give you success through life. You will never forget those lessons. Because living life is a team sport. Not really individual, it's a team sport. And all of you spoke to that. What did you like about it? I liked being part of a team. I know a couple of the girls told me that they liked, beating some girls who didn't seem very nice from other schools. And that was fun. But it was really about team. And I just think that's so important. I always tell kids when I speak to them, I've said this before at board meetings, if I talk to kids going into high school, find one thing you want to do and go do it. do not just be someone who rides a bus to school and rides a bus home at the end of the day. Go find something, because team is so important. So congratulations to all of you. You not only won the state championship, I could tell that you were real authentic when you talked about just being with each other and winning that state championship. So congratulations to you, and congratulations to any parents of these students, because I know that you are part of the team when they're on a team. I mean, you are in charge of food, and that's the most important thing that you can do. So, so congratulations to you. And I did learn also that they could be a bowling alley for 13 hours and bowl 11. I was in the bowling alley probably for about an hour and a half or an hour and 15 minutes, and I probably bowled a total of about 3 minutes. And I was tired, so I don't know how you do it for 11 hours. So. All right, I got these. Okay, so our certificates and our Dairy Queen gift cards. We'll start with Coach Paul Price. Wait. And this is also, I gave you 2 gift cards. I'm actually really excited about that. One is not for you. Coach Greg Guzik, who cannot be here tonight. So thank you to both of you. And we'll go to Alyssa Ricci. Alyssa? Jillian Lipinski. Haley Patterson. Alexa Hardister. Riley Brownrigg. And Tess Stade. And Samantha Schnurr. So, and I just want to thank all of you. I had a lot of fun bowling with you. I have a lot of work to do. You were inspirational. The first thing I noticed when I watched that film was I have no follow through. You have beautiful follow throughs. I can't get over how that arm just comes right up there. So that'll be my first thing that I work on. It's just a little bit of follow through. So what we're going to do right now, if you could come to the front, we'll do a picture with our Board of Education. And you're real worried when I'm watching the season, make sure no one gets your gift cards. We can just take the short break now and then. Go ahead.
Okay. All right, at this point, let's take a short break for those folks that need to attend other things outside the school board meeting this evening, get underway. If you'd like to stay, you're more than welcome to stay and, attend and see what happens here at our school board meeting. But if you'd like to get underway, you're welcome to get up now. And again, thanks for coming and congratulations on your hard work. We really appreciate you.
And I would just add that the Dairy Queen over at North Avenue and M59 is open. If your parents allowed you, they could take you out there tonight.
That is the restroom just for a second, so it's back shortly. Okay, we'll continue on with the general consent agenda and have a motion for the general consent agenda, please. By Ms. Mezak, Support. Support by Mr. Pearl. Anything on the general consent agenda that the board would like to have removed? Comments, questions? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes. I wish we had a retirement resolution for employees. Please read it.
Resolution, whereas Karen Dam has served, I hope I say her name right, Karen Dam has served the Chippewa Valley School District faithfully and diligently for a period of 22 years as hall monitor and study hall detention monitor. Whereas Karen Dam, through her leadership, has had a positive impact on the staff, students, and the community. Whereas Karen Dam is a conscientious, loyal, hardworking employee, has elected to retire. And whereas Karen Diem will be missed by all of her school colleagues. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Chippewa Valley School District, not only on their behalf, but also that of the Superintendent of Schools and the administration, extend their thanks and appreciation for a job well done, as well as best wishes for the future. Let it be further resolved that this resolution, having been adopted by the Board of Education of the Chippewa Valley School District on the 21st day of March 2022, be made a permanent part of the records of the school district and a copy sent to Karen Diem as an expression of our appreciation.
Pam cannot be present this evening, but we want to thank her for her dedication to our schools. 22 years as a hall monitor and detention monitor. What a feat. So we want to wish her the best in her retirement. Okay, moving on to E, old business. There's none this evening. F, new business. F1, food chain worker summary report, February 2022. Mr. Sutherland.
The recommended motions that the Chippewa Valley Schools Board of Education approve the 2018 bond issue change order summary report for the month of February 2022.
Motion.
So
By Mr. Pearl.
Support.
Support by Ms. McZack. Cash now, please.
This work consists of changes to existing contracts for the purpose of the owner requested work, deducts, code compliance, or hidden conditions on the construction and equipment projects. All amounts are within the contingency budget allocation. This report was reviewed with the Building and Site Subcommittee on Monday, March 7, 2022, and funding will come from the 2018 Building and Site Fund.
Questions or comments by the board? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. And to F2. To approve student computer purchase for International Academy of Macomb IAM. Mr. Sullivan.
The recommended motions of the Chippewa Valley Schools Board of Education approve Presidio Network Solutions for the purchase of 140 student computer systems at the cost of $125,160 for the International Academy of Macomb.
Motion. Moved by Mr. Exec. Support by Mr. Pearl. Dash now, please.
Aggressive pricing was obtained through the REMC Spot Cooperative Computer Bid. The proposal was reviewed and approved by the Technology and Purchasing Offices. Funding will come from the IAM fund for this purchase.
Any questions or comments by the board? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Okay. Move on to item G from the community. And if 6 slips, I don't know if anybody else that wish to speak tonight, give you a chance to hand this over. Okay, as always, before we begin, we'll read the public participation rules at board meetings. Our bylaw, public participation shall be permitted as indicated on the order of business. Each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 5 minutes duration. Give you the 1 minute warning. Participants shall direct all comments to the board, not staff or other participants. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. No person may address question board members individually. Complaints against identifiable school personnel may not be expressed in an open meeting. Such complaints should first be submitted in writing to the board and aired in open or closed session according to the wish of the persons involved. Presiding officer may interrupt, warn, or terminate a participant statement when the statement is too lengthy, personally directed, abusive, obscene, or irrelevant. Request any individual to leave the meeting when that person does not observe reasonable decorum. Request the assistance of law enforcement officers in the removal of a disorderly person when that person's conduct interferes with the orderly practice of the meeting. Call for a recess or an adjournment to another time. The lack of public decorum so interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting as to warrant such action. Waive these rules with the approval of the board when necessary for the protection of privacy or the administration of the board's business. All right. Okay. Tonight, in particular order, Mr. Stanley Shipley. Mr. Shipley, please address the board.
Hello again. First I'd like to say thank you for the fact that when I'm running a couple minutes late because of work and then getting dinner ready for the kids, that it's not like too late to hand one of these in. I do appreciate that. And a lesson to anyone, if you are a couple minutes late, you'll find yourself accidentally in the seat of honor with the student athletes. And a younger, less mature me might have run up to the microphone with those three ladies when Mr. Roberts asked them up, but I've grown a little. So on the computer thing I spoke of last time, I've been in contact with the school. One of the administrators reached out to me, and they are working hard to address this issue. Mr. Sibley asked me if I had a recommendation. I had a thought, and it is being investigated. Right now, I'm happy with the effort they're putting forth. For those who don't know, if you're curious for a follow-up, since there's other parents here, and Mr. Sibley mentioned that he has kids in the school, so that he was concerned in that regard as well. So real quick, the idea I had was right now the school has a very open but safe internet filter. I think they do a good job with it. But that lets the kids waste time the way my daughter was wasting time. So the thought was, do they need that all the time? Can we have a default filter that's very, very locked down, lets them take online tests in class, Schoology, Office, Microsoft Teams, just the things that are totally necessary, and then give a teacher a button they can click to open the rest up only for the remainder of the class period. They're investigating that. I'm happy with the direction. If they go in that direction, cool. But so one of the things that made this process maybe more frustrating was the lack of interaction with teachers. So I actually first found out how much time my kids were wasting first couple of weeks of the school year. I asked them to refrain. Of course, they're teenagers with a school laptop in front of them. It's not a reasonable expectation. They were compliant for that much time and then they weren't. Before COVID, we had in-person student-teacher conferences. We just had our 4th Zoom conference, and we're not even doing conferences for the teachers. It's like, oh, if there's a special need, then do a conference. I think it's time to go back to doing in-person teacher conferences. Thank you. To have gone to the 4th semester of not doing it, we just went through the 4th time this didn't happen. If it were before COVID, or if we weren't still overreacting to COVID, I would have had an opportunity to sit down with each and every one of my students' teachers each semester and say, hey, this is what their internet logs look like in your classroom. Instead, I have to, I still need to follow through and email each one of them individually. But this interaction between teachers and students, we've removed it. And I would love for you to restore it, for you to say today, hey, you know what? Starting now, we're going to do the normal in-person every semester or every quarter. I don't know how often you did it, but it was at least once a semester parent-teacher conferences. I don't think parents and teachers are enemies with each other. I think this wall that's being put up between them, not saying anyone intended to put up the wall, and I don't know if it's, the teacher union loved the Zoom meetings and that's why they're still happening 2 years later. If that's the case, then it's your job to push back on that. And we want you to do so. But it might just be no one has made the decision yet and no one really thinks it's the wrong decision to change. So if that's the case, please take a vote on it. Bring back in-person conferences. So I guess since I have the time, I'll follow up with what I talked about a couple meetings ago. These rules you have about not being able to address people personally and not being able to say things that are irrelevant. In November, a federal judge ordered a Pennsbury, so in Pittsburgh, a Pennsbury school district, and told them that this was a part of the opinion in the judge's rulings. She agreed that Pennsbury's policies prohibiting certain comments, including those considered personally directed, offensive, abusive, and irrelevant, appeared to be vague and overly broad, and directed the district to stop enforcing them. So I don't know if you did follow up with the school's attorney regarding these rules, but you have a federal judge who has ruled these very same things as unconstitutional. So if you haven't followed up, I would urge you to do so. That's all I have for now. Thank you.
Yeah, sure, for your comments this evening, for sure. Okay, next, Jeremy Snedden? Sedam, I'm sorry, Mr. Sedam. Thanks for coming, Mr. Sedam. Please share your comments with the board this evening.
With me is Ms. Amy Sawyer. We're here on behalf of Scouts Troop 248 and 1248. As the Scout units, the boys unit 248 and the girls unit is 1248. We've traditionally had our meetings since 1998 at the 9th grade center in the cafeteria on Monday evenings. That was up until when COVID shut everything down and changed how we're doing business nowadays. With the current atmosphere, we're having a very, very, very hard time finding locations that we can have our meetings. The library system's only allowing us to have meetings once every 6 weeks. We put in requests since the beginning of the school year to see about having returning use to the cafeteria at the 9th grade center. Typically, we've done it on Mondays because Mondays are a slow night when it comes to after-school activities. With our agreement with the school district, we've always cleaned up after ourselves. We wipe everything down. We put the tables away. Everything, the trash is all bagged up. Everything's ready to go. I understand that the district has needs when it comes to staffing and janitorial cleanup, and the concern is it's going to create more costs right now with where we're at with COVID. My recommendation, what I'm asking for, is simple, clear communication. As Mr. Roberts said earlier, teams really propel you into life. If you're going to work as a team wherever you go, even out of school, Scouts is what my child's team is. He needs a place to be able to hold these meetings. So what we're asking for is understanding that the additional need and additional cleaning which we really would not need. If we could have set a schedule up for 2 Mondays a month for the remainder of the school year. So 2 in April, 2 in May, and 1 in June. That we schedule in the next week with the school district. So there's open communication between the Scouts and the school district. And then that communication can be forwarded to the school and the janitorial staff at that facility. So instead of cleaning that cafeteria first, you can clean that cafeteria last because the staff is still there. It's just having communication and having a plan in place that allows our students to achieve what they're trying to achieve while minding the needs of the district and the ninth grade center. So I'm asking, what we've been trying to get back in the ninth grade center since the beginning of the school year. And we kind of come to the point that we have to come to you and say, we need help. We've been there since 1998. We're good stewards to the center. We clean up after ourselves. Just a little bit of help will go a long way to helping our students achieve their goals. I don't know if it could be discussed after this. You guys can talk about it and possibly vote on it, but we've been waiting.
Yeah, we'll be speaking to this.
Thank you. I appreciate your time. Thank you guys for all you do.
Thank you for your comments this evening. Okay, hang on the Boy Scouts. Amy? Okay, just say one. Okay, thank you. All right. Next up, Mr. Griffin Black. Mr. Black?
Yep.
Mr. Black, thanks for coming. Please share your comments.
Hello, I'm Griffin Block. I'm a senior at Chippewa Valley High School. I'm a senior student athlete. And I would like to thank you for listening to me tonight. So recently, last 2 weeks ago, I got to meet with Superintendent Ron Roberts and student leaders at our school, and we talked about issues through our school and our school district. And one of the big issues was equitable funding throughout all the schools. And so equal funding means that students should be provided with the same resources across all schools to aid them in being successful students. I've been in this district for 14 years since preschool, and I haven't really seen much funding, equal funding between many of the schools. As a student athlete at Chippewa Valley, it's kind of hard to compete at the same level as Dakota High School. I'm going to Hope College in the fall for football and track and field. And it is upsetting to me and many other student athletes to see the difference between the sports facilities between Chippewa and Dakota. For an example, if the track and field team at Chippewa has a pole vaulter that wants to practice, they must go all the way to Dakota to practice alone without their team or coaches. They also must get their own transportation and a vehicle that can fit the poles in order to practice. And our coaches must have it approved for our vaulters to use their equipment every day. And the track coach at Dakota can say yes or no to that request of practice. I don't know if the school board, if you guys even think that's unequal. I don't know if you guys know that's unequal, which it is. But to our track team, starting each meet already down 9 points is putting us at an unfair disadvantage. How can we as athletes compete at the same level as Dakota if we don't have the same level of equipment and facilities as they do? It seems to me that we are divided between two districts, the Dakota School District and the Chippewa Valley School District, when we really are one whole district. It is unfair for student athletes at Chippewa Valley to work as hard as Dakota's athletes in the classroom and on the field, but not be given the same equipment and facilities. It seems to me that the district likes to develop the newly built schools like Dakota, Shawnee, Seneca, whatever, while not paying any attention to their older built schools like Chippewa Valley, Wyandotte, Huron, whatsoever. I appreciate the brand new football field turf that the 2018 state championship team deserved, but that's not enough to match the caliber of school that is Dakota. At Chippewa, we have a scoreboard that is broken. It looks terrible. There's falling ceiling panels in the hallways when I walk to school through the hallways every day. Broken lockers, rusty spots throughout the school, no sponsor banners in the gym which anytime I go to Dakota for a basketball game, I see them all the time. Our auditorium is so small that it can't fit a large number of people, which causes many of our band choir concerts to have to be played at Dakota. And all our classrooms look like they haven't been redone for like over 30 years.
One minute, please. I'm sorry, Rob.
When I go to Dakota for sports events, classes and plays and music events in the auditorium, I can see a clear divide between the two schools where there shouldn't be. I would like to finish the statement by asking the school board something that is also said by many of my fellow peers at Chippewa Valley. Why is it so hard to not have equal funding between the north side schools and the south side schools in this district? And is there going to be a substantial difference in the coming years, because there hasn't been in the last 14 years that I've been here? I ask that you as school board members make sure that every child in the district, no matter what school they attend, has equal experiences in Chippewa Valley School District. Thank you.
A lot for your comments this evening. Next up, Rita Slinsky. Slinsky, thank you for coming. Please share your comments report.
So the CDC says it accidentally inflated children's death numbers with COVID. It was a coding logic error, which, if I remember, was used to push the danger and the fear and played a significant part in keeping our children masked. CDC vaccine data is finally coming out and shows 9 pages of adverse reactions and risks that they knew prior to the rollout of these vaccines. Reminder that Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation with Johns Hopkins hosted an event 201 shortly before COVID, which was a mock run through of a global coronavirus pandemic and what was needed to get every person vaccinated globally, including funding to schools, corporations, media, hospitals to keep the fear levels high and the vaccines in a positive light. As of today, breaking news, Biden warns the US businesses to prepare for a Russian cyber attack. It's funny, because the World Economic Forum had a mock run through of global cyber attacks too. I've stated in comments prior, things like nothing can stop what's coming, Nuremberg 2.0 is coming, the next few months will be scary, or it had to be this way. So I believe the majority of the people will understand soon exactly what I meant. Bill Gates predicted just recently another pandemic's coming soon. Imagine that. Fauci is saying another wave is coming and we need all restrictions again. Putin is saying he isn't taking over Ukraine, he is exposing the globalists and the deep state of the West and all their US funded biolabs, money laundering operations, and the neo-Nazi military the US installed. You know, we did help run their elections in 2014. We had our Secretary of States, including Ohio's, there to oversee the new machine software. Actually, Biden didn't throw his hat in the presidential ring until his guy was placed in Ukraine. Ukraine also funded the fake Russian dossier. It's pretty crazy. China is asking the US to be transparent why we are funding 336 bioweapon labs around the globe. Other countries are getting this news and the remarks from Putin and other world leaders. So why is our media censoring this? Countries are now deciding if they want to change from the petrodollar to another currency for trade, which would inflate our dollar by 80%. Hunter Biden's laptop is real, so that will prove that Joe Biden is compromised and place us in a national security threat. Ukraine was the kickoff. Taiwan and Turkey are coming into focus. And I hear the war will end in Asia, but we shall see. So all but one of you have sat idle and done exactly what you've been told to do throughout this pandemic. You've had parents come with mountains of information and proof to stop the masking, stop the vaccine clinics, stop the testing, and you sat idle. You didn't request from the CDC or the health department proof for the masking, proof of a virus, proof for the testing results being accurate. You have sat idle and played your role knowingly or unknowingly. If the systems are collapsing, what will that look like? Have discussions started? As it is, there are food shortages and gas prices continuing to rise. Food lines have started in a few states, which include not just the poor. And our Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Nuremberg Code have all been trampled on. The information coming out publicly has only begun, and the parents that keep showing up to support their children's health, education, and well-being will not let the rest forget that we need a new board with the exception of one member representing us, a board that will never again sit idle. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments this evening. Next up, I have Fiona Zelensky. Thank you, Ms. Zelensky. Please share your comments report.
The system will collapse. If we refuse to buy what they are selling, their ideas, their version of history, their wars, their weapons, their notions of an inevitability. Remember this, we be many and that they be few. They need us more than we need them. Another world is not only possible, she is on her way. On a quiet day, I can hear her breathing. By A. Roy. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your time with us and sharing what's important to that. We appreciate you coming out and sharing that with us. Okay. That is it from the community. Next, I have union communication. Any leadership unions that would like to speak to the board this evening? Next, I have administration reports, Mr. Roberts.
Yeah, I just have one brief comment. I just wanted to recognize Karen D, whose retirement resolution was read this evening. In 22 years as a hall monitor and working in a study hall. We've lost other employees, just people retiring, and they're difficult to replace. Those are important people, and I wish her so much good fortune in the future. On the other hand, it's trying to run a school district. It hurts to lose people like this, but it's the natural progression of things. And congratulations to Karen. There was information in your board packet about the Chippewa Valley Virtual Academy. I'm rolling right into curriculum updates for next year. So we gave you some information on our plans for next year. We're going to talk about it this evening. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Broski to give you a little background information, kind of review some of the things that were already written. We'll go from there. So go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Good evening, board members. 2022-2023 school year, Chippewa Valley will offer the CVA options for students in grades 9 through 12. We believe that in-person instruction for our K-8 students is the best instructional delivery model to maximize student learning, offer opportunities for social and emotional growth, and provide support for them. As you know, the virtual component was a direct result of the pandemic and school closures in 2020. It's intended to be temporary. With the improved conditions of the pandemic and the availability of vaccinations for students and adults, along with students wanting to interact with friends and teachers in a face-to-face environment, we believe the in-person model is the best option. Last month, the Educational Services team presented to the board current student assessment data. These data show that as we return to the traditional model of instruction, more academic growth has been seen and is projected for the future. And students that attend school in person benefit from the socialization opportunities. It's evident that in-person instruction is the best model to support our students, especially in grades K through 8. To be successful in a virtual setting, students must be self-motivated and already possess skills that will support the independent nature of virtual learning. Our data and experience from the past 2 years show that students struggle in the virtual setting to be successful with their grades and with their social development. For some students, a non-traditional approach to their education is necessary, and we'll continue to prepare to offer virtual options to our 9th through 12th grade students. This approach continues to provide an opportunity for some of our more mature students to learn virtually. And taking virtual courses at the high school level has been an option for students for years, even prior to the pandemic. Overall, the number of students who signed up for our virtual options decreased significantly, almost 75% from last school year to this year. And we expect this trend to continue next school year as well. And we have Paul and Rena here to answer any questions you may have concerning either elementary or secondary.
Thank you. Board, questions, comments? So let's start.
May I ask a question?
No, you cannot. I got some questions. So we understand that you have done studies on cost. What K8 CVVA would run, what would that number be? You know that number by chance?
That's difficult. Scott's probably best to answer that, but it's so difficult just because there are so many factors and it's hard to pin numbers down on this, but we know there's cost. Scott, go ahead.
The struggle that we have with costing it out are when the placement of kids back in the classrooms. When you look at the K program, especially the middle school, it becomes very difficult to estimate that. You know, we have room in a lot of the schools, a lot of the classrooms, but we don't know how much. So when you're looking at a virtual teacher versus a classroom teacher, they might have 6 or 7 seats open. We can basically shift those students directly into a classroom without having that virtual section. The problem that you run into is you've got to reschedule everyone that does that. It's very difficult to do. It's all done by hand.
So we have to hire additional staff to make that work.
Right. So as
which we've done the last 2 years.
Right. As it sits right now, we have roughly K-12, about 25 total teachers in virtual settings. I mean, that's elementary. I think we have around 10. Middle school, I think we have around 8. High school, we have around 8 that are teaching either full day sections or partial day sections in the second. So it's very difficult to estimate that. We've been trying to do something to estimate it, but it's all done by hand, and it's so time consuming that it's very difficult to do.
Would you say, okay, to be fair, there is substantial additional cost on KCVA?
I think it depends on the level. I think it depends on the grade. And again, it depends on how many open seats there are in each grade level. I mean, for a high school, if you think about a high school student or a middle school student, you might have 20 open seats in a 8th grade science classroom, but might only have 5 open seats in an 8th grade English language arts section. In that case, we might be, depending on the number of students, we could very easily put all of the virtual 8th grade kids in the math section without having a teacher. But depending on how many students you have in the virtual setting, we might have to keep that virtual teacher and move them into a classroom setting. It all depends on open seats.
Right, I know it's a hard number to put your mind.
But at the high school level, we can set class size minimums and then just not run the classroom if we don't have enough kids.
Okay, so
Where at the elementary level, you can't set those minimums. Whoever puts in and says they want to do it, you just got to make it work. So there is cost there, but I will say costs are certainly one issue. But this began with what we thought was best for our kids, to have our students in school. And we can offer things not through Chippewa Valley schools for someone who just absolutely has to have virtual education now, for whatever reason that might be. But there are alternatives, but that's outside Chippewa Valley schools. I mean, we much of our discussion was about what we do well, and running virtual classrooms was important. It was very important, but it's not what we specialize in. We specialize in in-person instruction, and so it was a matter of we need to focus on what we do well. With that are the cost issues related to this, and staffing, certainly can reduce staffing. Can't give you a hard number on that, but we can reduce staffing by having kids return to school. And just as an example, you can take a lot of those classrooms of kids who are in a virtual setting right now, and you can, if you dissolve that virtual class, you can place many of those kids right back in their schools where they belong, in the grade levels they belong, because there's space there. So what we've done is paid for an additional cost to the teacher. But having said all that, the most important point in all of this was what is the best education that Chippewa Valley can offer to our students, and it's in person.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a cost for additional educators. There's also a cost for scheduling. I mean, that has been very, very difficult on our resources to try to put this together the last 2 years. And it's tough enough with normal scheduling in schools without a virtual component, and then the need to have that virtual, and as a community was crying out for it, to present that for them and do regular schooling. So it's been, you guys should be commended, our staff should be commended, we've done it in scheduling. It's been a lot of fun. So that cost is included as far as the money costs for our resources. So I'm in total agreement with that. I think that sounds like a wise way to move forward with this virtual. Just put together awfully quick. Nothing. A lot of good things we've heard about the community is how the staff made it happen in that virtual world. Our kids, wasn't perfect, but I got thrown into this pandemic. No playbook for it. Trying to do the best we could. It goes through today. So that's perfect.
Yeah, I just have one question, I guess, is why would the parents want virtual now? I mean, pandemic is pretty much over, hopefully it doesn't come back. Variant increases, but with everybody vaccinated and everything, why would they want to do it?
Yeah, and I don't see, from an educational standpoint, and I can't judge every parent or choice. I don't even want to do that. For some people, maybe they've discovered virtual because of what happens, and it works for their child. I'm not saying it doesn't work for some children. It can. But Chippewa Valley doesn't have to be the provider of it. There are other providers out there who that's what they do, is virtual education. And so now I don't want to lose any students, and I will put what we do on our classrooms up against what anyone else does. But some people, for whatever reasons they would make that decision. In vast majority of cases, you just need to be in person. I mean,
Yeah, I agree with you, because that's where it's at. And I mean, I don't understand why they sit in front of a computer all day.
It is, and schools that run, or not schools, no, it is schools. Organizations that run virtual education have totally different structures. Our structure isn't that type of structure. And so I equate it to any kind of a business where we have to do the best we can to meet the needs of most kids in our district. And we certainly attempt to meet all needs. But we stretches us in ways that is not advantageous to the school district to try to simultaneously on the side run this other program over here. And that's, in any business makes those choices. But I still say, with 99.9% of the kids who are sitting over virtual, it will be better for them in an in-person setting. And I would want to talk to the person who said it wasn't going to be.
But you're just recommending, Mr. Husky, the elimination of the element of K through 8. Why are we keeping high school?
Well,
let me, if you don't, I'm trying to say, okay, sorry. You know, there's a different maturity in the learner. And so we have the options that we have now for high school students are pretty broad, just because of the age and maturity of the students, plus they have an education they've already received to fall back on. With that, we can staff it in a much more cost-efficient way, because, as I said earlier, we can eliminate classes and say we're not offering these classes because we don't have enough students who want to take them. So we can be more flexible with high school students, but they are at the point in their life where, for some of them, it can't work. I mean, we offer, you know, as you know, at the high school, we have the International Academy, the early college. We have been offering online courses for high school kids for certain things for years. So with high school, you can, just because of the nature of the learner, you can make it work, but we will not have many kids in it.
Okay, well, that's what I was hoping.
Yeah, we will not in the end have that many kids in it. So, yeah.
Thank you. I agree with you, Rick. Can you, in our board package, you had given us the numbers when you open the virtual academies to what we have for this registration year. Can you address that for a second? Maybe read those numbers for us again.
I'm going to call Mr. Sibley up. He can talk to you about the secondary registration.
Thank you, Dr. Brosky. When we started the CVVA, we had about 2,600 students that signed up. So obviously a significant need for our kids. Our teachers have done an absolutely remarkable job to put out an incredible product. And the move from the 1920 school year to the 2021 school year saw that number actually drop below 700 students total K through 12. So we only had about 250 students at the elementary level, about 190 at the middle school level, about 250 at the high school level in the CVVA this year. And a lot of students inquiring about next year. The calls that our offices really are getting at this point are just confirming that the student is not going to be automatically signed up for the CVVA next year. We're not really hearing from many parents at the buildings who are asking for the CVVA at all different levels. So the decline has been quite significant, and we see that continue.
Other questions on the board?
Thank you.
That's it for administration and curriculum?
That's it.
Okay, so we'll go on to by the board, board members, scouts.
I just wanted to say that this past week we've had middle school level robotics, middle school, high school, yeah, and there was elementary level robotics. Before the pandemic, we worked really hard as a board to get invited to those things. Besides being on stuff, we have not been included in anything, unless I'm speaking out. It really occurred to me when the Clinton Township treasurer was at the middle school Lego robotics on Friday, which I was watching live streams because attendance was supposed to be small. And that's when it occurred to me that, yeah, we haven't been invited to stuff. So we need to get back into
Figure it.
that was the first thing. And the second question was, besides scouting, what other groups are trying to use our facilities?
I'm defer to Scott. I don't have, those don't come to me. Explain that. I think you should start by explaining the groups we have. And there's different groups. They're assigned to group uses, you know, right?
So our board policy specifies the groupings that certain users or district buildings belong to. Yeah, groups 1 through 4. 4 meaning basically outside group that's a for-profit. For-profit, and typically it's the groups are set up that they're set up based upon what we charge and how we charge. From not charging at all to not charging for a facility use fee, but charging for 4-day custodial to charging for both to the fullest extent. The group 4 is typically your for-profit, your dance groups, people like that. who rent our, typically our auditorium, churches, yep. And usually what they'll do is they'll pay our full facility use fees, and will reimburse us for the cost of the facility. The least amount are our student, really mainly student groups. They typically utilize our buildings, no charge to them. And they're all basically, they're groups that are directly tied to the district. Then you have the ones in between, where there are community organizations and or discounted organizations, which are typically community organizations, but outside groups. Those are charged differently by facility use and also by custodial use. So when you look at how it's set up by the house, and how we charge for them, it's set up by both houses. What we've done moving since the pandemic, we've gone from completely shut down to basically opening it up where we're currently at right now. Is really we're looking at the groups that are school tied before. We've made a very strong effort to reduce the traffic in our building because of the pandemic. We try to limit as much as we can any outside groups into our buildings, but we want to reduce any type of that foot traffic. We have since, up to this point, really only allowed our student-run organizations to utilize our facilities. And that started at the beginning of the year. They weren't using them, to slowly ramp that up a little bit as the pandemic has subsided. So where we sit right now with all the outside groups is we typically help them and telling them no. At this point, I believe within the last couple of weeks, we actually got our first answer saying we don't utilize your facilities in June. So there's been some debate among us about what we want to do about that. June and maybe this time to let those outside groups start. Really, it's a conversation that we're having, at all of our levels, trying to figure out exactly how much access we want and how much foot traffic we want into our facilities at this time, by really outside groups. And again, the scouting group again is more foot traffic into our facilities. And especially at the beginning of the year, we were not interested in that. Now, we're heading to the end of the year. I don't know exactly what. Emails have been flying around among all of us, really trying to decide what to do with the outside groups. Should we slowly start getting back to the north and looking at these outside groups and services? Scouting would be probably a group 2. We wouldn't charge them. There are students, but there are others involved in it. So I think it's something that we probably need to talk to a little bit more. Joey.
I just have a hard time justifying in my mind how, and Ron and I have talked about this before, he brought up a really good point that scouting is his son's team. We've talked about all the kids in our district finding a team, and we can't let that team meet, but we're having a craft show on Saturday.
And I'll address that. Besides what Scott talked about with opening the buildings, was our staffing. Just where we are right now with custodians in the building, we have shortages across the district. So that's been a key factor in all of this. We have allowed things into buildings on Saturdays, because generally we allow things that are through our school organizations, and craft shows are usually through PTOs. And plus then those groups come in on a Saturday, they pay for custodians to be there, and a custodian's only job is to service that group during that day. Whereas in an evening, a custodian's job is to get the building clean and ready for the next school day. And I know I've been in these buildings, and believe me, I am a supporter of Boy Scouts. I mean, you'd be anti-American to say you're not. We have worked with parents whose children are Eagle Scouts to have them do projects at our buildings. We have done cable television shows featuring these students. We know these are important people.
But we also know that once we open that door is open. And it's hard for us to say this group is more important to that than that group. So the issue for us is can we clean our buildings? And I was an elementary principal, and no matter how much we say we will not, you won't know we're there. That just doesn't, and it's not that there's a fault of anyone, it's just that they are there. And there are things that come up because they are there. So, but as I said, and I wanna, because I have people out here from scouting organizations, and I know Griffin Block, who was here earlier, is an Eagle Scout who's done projects for our schools. We are committed to our scouts. We understand that's important. But as far as management of our buildings and making sure that when our hundreds of kids show up the next day, the building's ready to go. So that's kind of what we're weighing.
Is there any way we could get a hold of the library? I mean, we have a great relationship with Neil, is that his last name or his first name?
Yeah. I think it's his first name.
But if they can let them meet more than once every 6 weeks, or?
Well, we have, administratively, we have a meeting, we have them on Tuesday mornings, we have a meeting again tomorrow, and this will be a topic of our discussion.
Yeah.
So, you can, from the outside, when people make judgments on what we do and why we do, that's generally based on not a full picture. The picture is different than what we have as someone who manages it day to day. And I understand that it doesn't make sense sometimes. But we're just at a difficult point. I mean, and you can look at what businesses have done, because we all face the same problem. Whether it's cutting back your hours of opening your business, it's any number of things, and we're no different. So, but we also know we're serving very important people.
Yeah, athletics is always taken. And my kids pick sports, so I'm not against athletics. We always seem to figure that out first. Okay. I joke with my son because he's really into the brackets right now. And I said, aren't they supposed to be in class? Are they in college? Which I know is a big joke. We're in class right now. But we always figure out athletics first. Yep. So, and I know that they put a boosters after the pool. I just think I would rather have this conversation about getting these other groups somewhere sooner rather than later.
All right.
Further comments? I'm sorry, George. Board members?
These videos that we watched tonight, we've seen a good number of these videos that you've done. What, besides putting them on our cable channel, what are the purpose of those?
That's the purpose. And we also, from those videos, reduce that down and try to make segments that are suitable for social media. So it is really to promote our district and to have a vehicle for our kids to be recognized. So as an example, when at the Lego Robotics on last Friday evening, I go, and my job is to work with the camera people there. They're filming, and then I'll do parts of it and interview students that are competing. And then we run that on cable. And then we'll also have those people call us and want us to burn copies of CDs or DVDs so for their family. So it really is to promote our school district.
So do we put them any place besides on our cable channel?
The entire
had the video, the entire video.
Not to my knowledge, no. I mean, unless they're posted on YouTube. Are we posting any on YouTube so they can access them at any time?
Absolutely. We have a district YouTube channel, and that's where we place a lot of the videos and actually get, quite a few views there. So we know that not everybody has traditional cable. We know people stream, so we stream. We have a YouTube channel. We have all that information there.
So I guess at least we're getting some promotion out of it all.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. I guess, I'm not saying these things I'm about to say are bad. In fact, they're probably good. But I guess we seem to see a lot of these videos which could be considered in past comments to be disruptive. We are constantly having certain people go into the buildings. We are now, from what I understand, again, I'm not saying these things are bad, but again, now I hear that we're giving full access key cards to the police departments or our resource offices with absolutely no oversight from the board or the district. And I guess I'm having a hard time understanding why these things are okay to consistently, especially since as I've said, we are fighting to try and get invited to events. We enjoy going to events, but yet when a board member simply wants to show up when we're in a crisis situation, an emergency situation, just to observe if it's being handled correctly, they're not only told no, but they're told we're going to attack you, and we're going to go as far as trying to censor you. We're going to go as far as pulling your key card privileges, okay, which now we're giving them to just to having police cars so anybody can have them, and going as far as changing the bylaws to say that I can't go into a building to observe how we are handling a crisis situation. I'm having a hard time understanding why it's okay for one side to do this and for one person to get attacked for just showing up and doing what they were elected to do. Can you explain?
No, that's probably more for me to address.
I'd like to get both of you guys to address.
I mean, I'll say my part, but I can jump in. I mean, the problem with that is they're having an emergency in a building, or they're having a rehearsal in a building for an emergency. And the crisis becomes the board member who shows up instead of the crisis. All right, so we don't need our staff having that disruptive. If you simply want to do this and do it in a way that's not going to be disruptive to our staff, our buildings, you would contact our administrators, say, Mr. Roberts, I'd like to attend this. And I'm sure you'd say, you can find a way for you to participate, in this way, or maybe this is not the right exercise, Mr. Witovic, for you to be at. And there you go. So I don't think it's a big deal. I've never been denied a single time by Mr. Roberts for anything I want to participate in. So I don't know, to tell you that, I wonder why.
Yeah, that's what I wonder. That's what I'm asking.
I wonder why that is. So, again, this is moved already because we discussed this. There's 6 out of 7 board members who are in total agreement that you going to buildings unannounced is disruptive to our staff and to our educational environment, and we won't have it.
But you have to have somebody else.
Oh, yeah. So these horrible police officers, dirty bad cops who have key cards in their car are gonna go rip off our schools. That's a bad idea. Don't we have cameras?
So you're telling me, you're telling me I'm a bad
I
person?
think you should give me the time because I gave you the time.
Okay.
I didn't interrupt you.
Okay,
It's
then
not
I
what you
need to
make.
answer the question.
You make your comments, I'm making mine.
Okay.
I don't have any problems with police officers having key cards to get in our schools, as I think most of our community will agree on.
I don't either.
Why would that be a problem? You're just making points, throwing things at the wall just to make problems for this district? We're trying to build this district. We're trying to make it a great district, not tear it down. These people are paid exorbitant amounts of money to run this district. That is their job. And they do a heck of a job for it. We're very proud of them. But if you come here and start chastising our administrators, our building staff, because you want to go where you want, when you want, it's not right, it's not fair. It's not fair at all. So, yeah, and we've never had a board member like you on this board where we had to do these extreme things and pass bylaws to keep you away because you would not listen to anybody. We gave you directions, you didn't want to follow. We had a meeting with you, asked you, how can we help you be a better board member? How can we ask you to participate, be part of our team?
When did we
Everyone
have?
talk- excuse me.
When did
You're
we have
nothing
a
now.
meeting? Because you're making a lot of false comments.
That's not
I mean,
false
it's not
comment.
a meeting saying, how can we?
We did not meet in Chippewa Valley's library, this set myself, Mr. Sobel, yourself, this Reno, and talk about these very things, about you behaving yourself as a board member. We didn't have that meeting?
No, you accused me,
Oh, okay, we didn't have a meeting.
which by the way was illegal.
Sure.
Sure. But you obviously didn't hear my question anyhow. Because I never said it was a bad idea to give the police these key cards. I said, why is it bad? So unless you're actually saying you think I'm a evil, bad person. Because you just said, why is it so evil to have? police
Your actions
badge?
speak for
But
themselves.
I
Your actions
I'm
speak
elected-
for themselves.
I'm elected. No, it's not my actions.
You're part of a team. You're one board
You have
member.
falsely accused me of a lot of things here that I don't appreciate.
Okay.
And this isn't mute, because it's not.
I guess-
This isn't kind of new, this is something that just happened.
I guess I
So
just
I guess-
don't understand where you're coming from, because I could have sworn that was the start of your statement, talking about we test bylaws, how we give key cards to police officers and they were getting access to our school, how that happened. How weren't you allowed to do your job as an elected official? You're an elected official, you're one board member. You're a board with 7 members. You make decisions as one, not individuals.
Well, maybe you weren't listening again, because I started out by saying about the two things that are happening right now, which are related to what happened. Okay, so maybe we should rewind and you should listen, because obviously you didn't listen. But anyhow, Mr. Roberts, can you answer my question? Because I'm still having a hard time understanding why, unless, like Mr. Bednar here, people are gonna start accusing me of things and claiming that I'm some kind of evil person that I shouldn't have access. And making me the problem when I go to school. All I did was observe. Now, when you show up, so you're saying that people don't think the same way as you when you show up? And you're trying to tell me you never showed up? Because I probably can get witnesses that.
He's an employee, he's our superintendent. He can go anytime, anywhere to any school.
And
He
I'm
doesn't
a
have to
board
have
member.
permission.
I'm a board.
You're not the
member.
same.
And
You're one of 7 board members.
Where's the law?
You're not the board member.
I'm a board member, right?
One of 7.
See, again, you're not listening.
You're
I
not,
said
you
I'm
don't
a
want
board
to, you
member.
don't want to be a good board team member. You want to play by your own rules.
Oh, no, a team.
That's not
member
gonna happen.
is
We're gonna
doing things right.
put rules against every time you make a move.
Not bullying somebody when they're just trying to do their job. That's not a team.
We've asked you, we've begged you, you wouldn't listen. You
No,
come up
see,
with
now
these
that's false.
conspiracy
You know it.
things, like
That's
everybody's
not
got
true,
things
you
against
know.
you. You're throwing things at the
That's
wall.
not true, you know.
People have seen this. This is the same rhetoric you've seen since you got on this board.
It's the same stuff that you're saying that I've already said. It's false. It's not true.
Mr. President, if we're done, can
I am done. Yeah.
Well, I'm still waiting for Mr. Roberts.
Mr. Adams, you have a comment to make about this?
I think you're putting an awkward.
Yeah, I don't think that's even fair. to him. He's a
Well,
employee.
you're putting me back. This is why.
You know, we have 6 board members that don't agree with you.
Didn't you guys just ask the questions?
No. Can I?
No. You didn't ask the
Let's
questions.
Mr. Kroll, let's have Mr. Kroll answer here.
Well, only if Mr. Roberts is gonna answer.
Mr. Kroll, you're
done.
You know, we have gotten certain invitations to plays and different events. Maybe there's more. I remember the robotics I've been to with you. You actually interviewed me. I wasn't a student though. A few years back. So
Thanks. I'm glad you weren't a student, I was superintendent, so.
some of the people that read, okay. My kids have been in the schools a long time here. Unfortunately, some of his teachers have retired. But yes, you're right. Maybe we could be invited to more things. Pandemic has shut down things and there were not things going on. Maybe I think right now things are starting up. And there is some concern. I've been going to fundraisers lately that now have 300-400 people, and I'm nervous about, you know, those large groups. But so far, no problem. Of course, I'm vaccinated, but I'm still worried about everybody. events. They're starting back up. We couldn't do it yet with the Chippewa Foundation. We're going to do in May a online event. If you want to do one in person, but so that'll be auction online. To raise money. I know you guys have long discussions about one board member, but I remember here's my feeling, and I was on the board here for a number of years, and I was in the township board for a number of years, and while I was a township board official, I was one member of the board. I would never ever stop at a crisis going on. If I was driving by and there was a fire, I just prayed for everybody who went by. I didn't stop to consult with anybody. If there was an accident and there were EMS units and police and fire there, I just drove out of the way and let them do their job. And if there's a crisis, I think the board members should stay out of that particular school. But if there's a function that we can be invited to, I think we should try to go. And that's just how I feel. And argue about it forever, but as one board member, you don't have the right to interfere with people's jobs.
No, nobody has a right to interfere, but that's not interfering. You guys can claim it. Now, I'm not sure why Mr. Bennett gets so hostile when I asked a simple question.
Because you're lying to everybody out there, and they know it. You look foolish. You look foolish. Go ahead, buy some more.
Can you prove what you said?
Buy some more. I didn't say that. You're making this up. This is fake news.
That's just my feeling.
See, you're so hostile, but anyhow, no. I'm still waiting.
All right.
I'm asking for a simple question.
He's not gonna count you out.
Because, Mr. Crowe, I understand what you're saying, but what you're saying is a little different. Okay, the fire department, you have a whole department doing that, okay? This is a situation where a board member has been repeatedly denied information, has not been invited to anything, no information has been given. So I have to take it to myself to try and find out what's going on, to do the job I was elected to. I've said that plenty of times. Now, Mr. Bednar just seems that he wants to redefine the job, I guess. But if he wants to be hostile, it's okay. But all I'm asking is Mr. Roberts, now hopefully he had a little time to think. I mean, can you just tell me why it's so bad for one, but it's perfectly okay for the other?
Does anyone know what he's talking about?
Let me address one thing. We have always invited our school board members to functions. We always have done that. I think maybe since the pandemic, as we started to open some things back up, maybe that's been an oversight. Things like Lego, robotics, science Olympiad, we'd had board members stand up and hand out ribbons with kids and all that. So I think that's a very simple thing to correct, and we'll correct that. And it's just a matter of us keeping that in front of our mind to make sure at these things we invite board members. We love board members to come to these things, whether it's going to a school play, notices are sent out about that. We always have for science Olympiad at different things like that, different kind of functions. So we'll just redouble our efforts and start doing what maybe we, in some instances, have kind of forgot about as we reopened with our normal activities. Because we do look forward to having board members at those school functions. So we'll do that. It is, and it's right, absolutely. And you should be there for those things as a board member if you can be there. Because I know you're all busy. So.
Okay, and I just hope that this board doesn't continue to try and keep board members from attending those, so.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, that's part of the question I had. Was Mr. Roberts, so we're coming out of this COVID spell, or whatever we're gonna call it, and we're beginning to fully get our Chippewa Valley wheels rolling again, where we're starting to go to craft shows and things. So I would agree with this thing second. And yes, sooner the better. And along with those parent teacher conferences, I mean, that's another part of that also, where we were in COVID, now we're coming out, I would imagine. You know, that's also part of it. So your cabinet's meeting this week. And we would put some of the stuff on the fast track, or at least under consideration by your staff, so that they feel safest for our schools and what we can do and manage with our short staffing and so on, the best we can. So, Mr. Black talked about equitable funding. You know, we've had board members from the North Hall Road, board members from South Hall Road. We've always tried to do the best we can. Equity has been a big thing. So one elementary to the next, one high school to the next. Some of these things, pole vault, I don't know. You know, is that something maybe boosters paid for over there? You know, is there something like that? I mean, you might find small differences, but overall, generally, I mean, if you're in the north end, you're saying, how come you got Miami Elementary that's got 400 kids, 500 kids in it? Country club school, and I got my kid 1,200 kids school. You have to build schools big north because of efficiencies. That's what made us survive this long, because we're the lowest funded district going through there. We didn't have the money to build full service high schools, so we went to 9th grade centers. We had to build big elementaries, so we not have to build 2 of them, and we made it affordable, so we can continue on at the lowest fund. And our community support has been outstanding, supporting all our schools. So I guess there is some parts, as you brought up, that are still have some issues with, but I think overall, districts did a good job of balancing this out. When we did money, we put the roof here. Football field at Dakota, football field at Chippewa. It wasn't because of the state championship or something. That was all 5-year replacement plan. 5-year replacement plan is there's liabilities involved on football fields. If you go past a certain density, they go out the test to see that rubber, how much compacts. If it goes under a certain threshold, then field is not safe, you're liable, we have to replace it. So 8 to 10 year cycle, I think. So yeah, so there's a lot to know about all that. And Mr. Black, you know, Eagle Scout being a bright young man, he met with Mr. Roberts, I think, and trying to explain some of those things to understand. So I think there's more to it than really meets the eye. As board members, long term, there's still many things to get our arms around, you know. We're gonna sit here.
You know, remember years ago?
Yes, I mean.
We were, it's interesting because we fought this battle years ago when the bond issues were passed and we were forced to build the new schools. COVID because the subdivision was being built and the builder said, look there'll be a school here, just buy. And the students came faster than the schools. And the state said, we're not gonna fund it. You just have to buy your own funding. You have to bond. But we did, because we were spending so much money north of Hall Road on new schools, we did look at all the schools in the south end. And we fought to put the same internet in all the schools, the same computers, whatever it was at that time. We put additions on a lot of the schools, auditoriums. We increased the heating equipment. Some of them weren't air conditioned, but others were. So yes, you were building a new set of schools, brand new, just like you buy a new house. It's different than the old. But we were putting new carpet in the schools south of Hall Road. We were putting new lighting in, you know, the auditoriums, the extra rooms.
You put additions on almost every single building in the
We
south
will.
end in order to have equity with the north end.
And, you know, we did argue with the board about that at the time and because we were concerned and everybody didn't agree, but we did do it. And we ended up spending the money, maybe not the same amount that you spend on a new building. Those new buildings were $20 million. But of course, they're newer because you have some buildings like school on 21, even though it was in Dakota, but it had to get air conditioned, had to get a new addition. Yep. And we ended up putting a 2-story addition on that school and redoing it because it was 50 years old. And so it got some money put into it. But a lot of the schools, we looked at the auditorium and there was no physical way to increase the size at Chippewa, but we considered it for a long time. We did add a new swimming pool. They didn't have a swimming pool. So we wanted to be equal. So we put in a state-of-the-art swimming pool a few years back at the Chippewa. And when we redid, coach at the time wanted to redo the locker rooms and everything. We reached a compromise and we did that at Chippewa. So the ninth grade center, we got, I don't know how many times, different colors every few years, you know, because of the students' populations changed to what it was functioned as. Now it's, of course, the International and ninth grade center. So there's a lot of things that we've done, and you're right, Frank, they're probably not equal in every area. And maybe that scoreboard could be fixed one day. You're right. That's, I know we put a new one in 15 years ago, and then we replaced it again. Years. So yeah, there's still things we got to do, but there was concern by this board to try to get equal on both sides.
This is not black, I just put this up, and it was looked at very closely. You know, punch list that schools for bond money are put together by, starts with our building staff, principals, you know, tell us what we need for a bond. That's how we come up with the budget, what we need. The biggie. It makes it over, look by our administration, make sure. What's there, so.
Yeah, I don't think, and that's one thing that I've always, as a longtime employee of this district, been proud of at this district is as we build new buildings, we've done everything possible to provide equity to older buildings. So it's an older building, that's the structure, you can't really change that. But as far as updating it and putting in new cabinetry and all those different things, the district has done that. So, some buildings look like they're built in the 70s and you can't help that. And some that are built in the 2000s have higher walls, et cetera. But that doesn't really reflect on the quality of the materials in the building and how it's kept. So I think you could look at it on the surface and say there is an equity, and there might be some things, and some things were mentioned tonight. There are reasons for why those things aren't there. But I think this district has done a really good job to try to maintain equity across the district. I mean, Clinton Valley is our oldest building in our school district. But if you walked into Clinton Valley, you will not find a nicer looking building that was built when it was built, because it's been maintained the whole time. So as you walk into Algonquin, we just did the offices. Now you walk into some other buildings, they might have higher ceilings, and you can't fix that. But Algonquin's whole office was just done. If you walk into that building, it is beautiful as far as how it's maintained and kept. So I don't, maybe there's some little things we can look at, and we'll discuss those again. We'll have a lot of things to discuss tomorrow, just to make sure to revisit it. But this board has always paid attention to that, always. And that's why, as an employee in this district, you've never felt like, oh my gosh, that building's getting all the attention. It is different when you get a new building. I had a new building. I mean, you get some bells and whistles that you can't get, but that doesn't mean you can't update your older buildings.
But also, Ron, we actually scaled back some of the architect's drawings on some of those new buildings. They were going to go to the sky with skylights and everything. It was ridiculous how much they were going to spend. So we didn't try to overdo.
No, I think you balance those things. I mean, you don't build a new building and not make it state of the art. I mean, you do your best that you can, and it's what you do. That's how we progress. But then at the same time we did all that, as you mentioned earlier, Mr. Bednar, if this building was beyond upgraded to have the ability to do this, everything possible was done at the older buildings to make sure they had, whether it was technology or space in a building with all the elementaries getting individual cafeterias separated from gyms, all those things. The science labs and the way they're equipped. I don't think you could point to say the equity isn't there. It just looks different. So.
Yeah, I mean, out in the real world there, resources we have in our community have given this district, our community members voted for these bonds. Our facilities are second to none. Second, our technology, second to none. Districts out there. Nobody's got facilities like we have in all our buildings. They share stadiums, they do different stuff to make it work. Here, top of the heap for resources, buildings, technology. Chippewa Valley's on the map. So a lot of thought, a lot of work is going into that. We're very, very proud of our community. We thank our community so that wants to support the bond dollars provide for us to do that, so. Okay, anything else? Okay, so we'll do it. I need a motion to adjourn. So moved by Mr. Pearl. Supported by Ms. Exec. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carries, we adjourn at 8:42, I'm sorry, 8:42. Thank you, everybody, for coming and seeing me. Safe right now.